Alright, so here's everything I'm pretty much going to be using. So as you can see, I have a few brackets here and there. So for example, those right there, that's actually a long piece that I cut into some smaller sections as L brackets to be able to mount it to the splitter. So if you look at this here, this is the whole piece. I just cut it. So you can see here it's cut at the end. But this is an angle piece, 1 1/8 inch thickness, and then 48 inches long. This is a pretty long piece. This is what I'm going to be using to mount the splitter to, and then also the bracket. So as you guys can see this here, this is pretty much already made. This is going to be one of the brackets to be able to mount the splitter to. It's going to go onto the frame of the car or the chassis, and these are the holes that go onto the where the frame mounts to. So this is one piece here, not mounted with an L bracket. So as you can see, it's just one long piece. I just cut the edges right here, but it's just a square sheet metal. I bought all this stuff at Home Depot. You can't really see it there, but this is 16 gauge, and then I believe it's 6 inches this way, and I believe it's 14 inches down this way. So it's a pretty big piece. This is how big you pretty much need it to be able to mount this up and reach all the way to the bottom. I also bought some locking nuts, which are these here. These are 3/8 inch, 16, and then you have some washers. The washers are going to be A, B, B, and then the bolts are going to be A, M, E. So that's pretty much all the material that I'm really going to be using. I'm not including the wood. The wood, you can pick whatever you want. I used plywood, which is going to be this over here. So as you guys can see, it's already cut out. I just need to mount it to the car and drill my holes. But this is where I'm going to be mounting everything to. So this is where the original crash bar goes, which is this part here. So this crash bar is actually attached there. I just removed the 4 bolts that go right here. Along with those, it comes off. And then this thing, which is this here, is going to go pretty much along these holes here, like that. And then at the bottom is where it's going to be mounting to. Right now it's low, but that's why I made these holes a little bit longer, so you can adjust it, so you can move it up, and it's going to make it go higher if you need the splitter to be a little bit higher. When you bolt it up, it's going to be really stiff on there, because not only are you going to be bolting this up, but you're also going to be bolting the crash bar back onto the same location, and it's going to be a really tight hold. So you don't have to worry about it slipping or anything. That should be perfectly fine. And then the reason I didn't just leave the whole bar straight down is because the crash bar actually has like a slant to it. So I'll show you guys what I mean. So if you look at the crash bar, it has a curve to it right here. So that means that the bar is actually straight, which is going to be this one there. That's straight. So if I just mount that there, it's not going to fit. It's going to curve too much, which is why I had to cut it. I would have just left it alone and mounted it up that way. I have a full bar, but because it slants, I can't do that. So I had to make my own brackets, cut it out, and that's pretty much what I'm going to be doing. So right now, I'm going to go ahead and start mounting everything up. I use the drill to make all the little holes that you see everywhere. So like those holes right there, I use a regular drill, which is out there. And then to be able to cut the brackets themselves, because they're made of sheet metal, so they're really strong, the drill's not going to work. You're going to need something a little bit different, which is something like this. You need something like this to be able to cut the sheet metal along with the bars. Let's go ahead and start mounting everything, showing you guys how it fits and how the splitter is going to fit along with it. Alright, so what I'm doing right now is I'm applying a wood finisher to protect the wood from any water. So this is what I'm using. It is waterproofing wood finisher. so it's gonna really protect it, which is what I want, because I don't want this to pretty much break apart or start falling apart after it gets wet. So this is gonna help with that. It's supposed to help with all weather conditions, is what it says on the actual container itself, but we'll see how it holds up. It says up to 4 to 6 years, so hopefully it holds up. Now this is what it looks like right now. I've only added 1 coat. You're supposed to do 2, and this is how it looked like before. You can kind of see like this is a little bit more like of a lightish color, and this one over here looks more yellow. So once this is done, this is just to protect the wood, and after that I'm going to be painting it a gloss black. So I got this other one over here, which I'm also going to be brushing on. So it's a gloss black Rust-Oleum paint, and I can, so you can use it with the brush. That one's already been applied. So after this dries up, you're supposed to wait at least 2 hours, then apply your second coat around 35 to 90 degrees Fahrenheit. So we'll wait a few hours, just apply this one, 2 hours. I'll apply my second coat. After that one pretty much dries, I'm going to go ahead and start applying the black paint. Alright, so today's the next day. So far I have put 2 coats on each side of the waterproofing paint. So that's how it looks. It just looks a little bit glossier. So now it's been about 2 hours since I've let this dry a little bit. I'm going to go ahead and start putting on the paint. That way it sticks well to the surface. Because if I do it when it completely dries, it might be too shiny and it probably won't stick as well. Here is an example of me testing it out on this wood here that I'm not going to be using. So here's an example of it done on the part that doesn't have any of the waterproofing, and here's one of it already on it. So as you can see, it looks pretty good. We're going to go ahead and start putting it on for the actual splitter itself. The reason I added the waterproofing is so no water really penetrates the wood and makes it get all nasty and start like splitting and stuff. That's why I added the waterproofing, just to add a little bit of protection. And then even adding the black paint on top of that will even add more protection, because it's going to kind of seal the paint, or it's going to seal the wood itself a little bit more. So 2 layers of this on each side, and then I'm going to go ahead and add the black paint on top. So I'm going to go ahead and start doing that. It should be pretty easy. I used one of these brushes to do this, so it shouldn't be very hard. Make sure it's all dried up. This is the paint I'm going to be using. Rust-Oleum black paint. So I'm going to flip it over. I'm going to do the back side first. That way when I turn it around, I don't get any of the top surface damage or anything. Just so it looks a lot cleaner and I don't have any marks on it. So I'm going to flip it around, do the back side. Once the back side is done, I'll go ahead and start doing the top side, which is going to be the final product. So here's how the first coat is looking. It's not looking too bad. It looks pretty cool. I kind of like the design it has with like the lines. So you have it kind of like a textured look. But this is just the first coat. I'm still going to do a second one. Once the second one is done, I'm going to flip it around. Well, of course I'm going to let it dry and then I'm going to flip it around. But I've already done the sides as well. So you can see they're painted black. I'm not actually going to leave this like this. I plan on buying like a trim guard or an edger to add on there, just to make it look a little bit cleaner. And I'm also going to be making some like canards right here just so it looks a lot cleaner, a lot better. All the sides are pretty much painted. Overall, I'm liking how it looks. Looks really good. So we're gonna wait a few minutes, allow this to dry. Like I said, that right there took about I'm not sure how long it took. I just waited like 2 hours for it to dry, and once I touched it right now, it was pretty much completely dry. Like right now, you can touch it and it won't leave like a dent or a mark, kind of like this. See, like I stepped on this part right here and I left a mark, but like right here, it's not really leaving a mark. So maybe like a few minutes, 30 minutes, let it dry, add another coat, and then I'm gonna let it completely dry for a few hours. That way we can go ahead and flip it around. Alright guys, so I'm pretty much done. Here's a splitter. It looks a little bit dirty now because I'm working on it, but it came out really nice. It's really shiny and black, and it gives the car a really aggressive look with it mounted on. And then I smoothed out the edges with the sander, just so it's not like all squared. I wanted to make it look round. I still want to add the guard on it, but I'll purchase that in the future so I can install it. As of right now, I have 2 fins that are made. One is installed, the other one on that side is not installed yet. I made a hole, but for some reason I cannot find some of the locking nuts that I purchased. I bought the nuts for it, but I can't find the locking nut. So I'm gonna look around for that right now, see if I can find it. But other than that, all the mounting points are pretty much secure. So you have a mounting point over there. So let's take a look at it. So this mounting point goes there, and then it goes down right there on the edge. It's just dirty right here, don't mind this. And then if we go over here, same exact thing. See, it's mounted right there, and it goes down right there. That way this doesn't tend to go down. So now you can see it's secure, it's not going anywhere. And then here you have this bracket that I was talking about earlier. So I made this bracket, bolts up to the frame so I can still keep this crash bar here. And then it bolts down here at the bottom. So this is bolted to this here, and then this is bolted to the bottom of the splitter with locking nuts. Everything's locking nuts so nothing gets loose. And then I have this here. This is an extra piece that I just made recently, a few minutes ago. I made holes on it so I can mount it to the bottom right here. That way it has a little bit more support in the middle so it's not flexing. So I'm gonna make some holes right there, drill it out, and then install that with some locking nuts. Other than that, that's pretty much it. I have to install these. I had to make my own brackets to be able to mount up the splitter rods, because these splitter rods are too short so they couldn't reach. So I bought this L-back bracket at Home Depot. They sell them already like this. I didn't have to cut it, I just had to make the little holes on it a little bit bigger. So as you can see, it has little holes right there. So I made the hole a little bit bigger so I could put this on there. And then I bought some bolts for the bottom because I needed to extend them, they were too short. That way it can mount up to the splitter, because the splitter is pretty thick. It's probably close to 1 inch thick. So we're gonna go ahead and start drilling out the holes for these, and then we're gonna mount it up and see how it looks. I want to show you guys exactly what it looks like. You guys can kind of see right there, already installed. So I want to talk about exactly what I did, what I regret, what I want to change about it. One thing I would change is the mounting brackets that goes to the crash bar. I would use a stronger material next time, or maybe I may swap it out in the future. It's holding up right now. I don't really have any issues with it. It's holding up. It's keeping the splitter on. I already drove over like 80 miles, close to 90, and I didn't have any issues. It was fine. I did have to move some of the brackets because the bracket on this end right here on the front, it was actually hitting the wheel when I was turning, so I had to adjust it and move it a little bit farther onto the wood. So I just made another hole. But what I would do differently is I would make sure that when you create the splitter that you actually drill out every single hole before you start painting it. So make sure all the fitment's perfect and then go ahead and paint it, because after painting it and making the holes, it messed up the paint a little bit. And then when I was pretty much mounting it and drilled out the new holes, some of it started cracking and falling off. So if you do decide to do this yourself, make sure you make all of your holes and you drill everything before you actually paint it. That's the only thing I really regret. And the bracket, I would have used a stronger material. Like the L brackets that I used, I would have used a stronger material like that to be able to create the splitter. But overall, it's holding up perfect. I have no issues at all. It even looks good because it's so thick. And then I rounded off the edges. But I'll go ahead and show you guys exactly how it looks like, how I mounted the splitter rods. I actually made my own bracket, and like I showed in the previous video, I was able to mount it to the actual crash bar. That way it holds up the splitter and it's not moving everywhere, and I'm able to raise it a little bit so it won't hit. It was hitting the floor a lot, so I had to adjust it, and then I mounted my bumper on. That way it looks a lot cleaner. But let's go ahead and look at the splitter, that way you guys can kind of check it out. Alright, so here's how the splitter looks. So as you can see, it looks really nice. It's really thick, so it looks even better. I use locking nuts for this as well, just so it doesn't get loose. And then for the support rods, see there's an L bracket right there mounted to the frame, and then there's another one over here, and then this mounts right there onto the splitter, so you can kind of see the brackets right there. So everything came out really cool. Like I said, the only thing that I would really change is the bracket that I used to mount it to the crash bar. It's not as sturdy as I would want it to be, so that's the only thing I would honestly change for right now. But overall, it just looks really good. And then if I step on it, it doesn't really go down. So it's actually moving the car when I do that. It is a little bit lower. It's not aired out all the way. I can still go down a little bit lower, but I just wanted to show you guys everything under the car. That way you can see how it looks. Now let's take a view from the top. And then the side. So here's a view from the side. So if you guys can see right there on the bumper, there's like paint chips on there. And that's mainly because the bumper keeps hitting the floor when I'm driving. So when I'm driving, the bumper will actually drag on the floor and just skid all over the place. Creating the splitter is really going to increase the amount of support that the bumper actually has, so it doesn't hit the floor. So it's going to really help out with that. And that's one of the main reasons I created the splitter. And it's not just for looks, it actually helps the car with the bumper keep it afloat. And that's actually going to be more functional than my previous splitter, because my previous splitter, if you guys saw the other video of how I made it with ABS plastic, it is a lot cheaper, but when it comes to ABS plastic, it does tend to break. I believe it was like 40 bucks for the full sheet. I was going to originally make the whole splitter out of ABS plastic, but that material, getting a thicker size, is going to cost you more than 300 bucks. and that's not even including shipping, and they charge a lot just for shipping. There's a shop here, it's called Professional Plastics, that actually provides full sheets of ABS plastic for you to be able to make splitters out of, or whatever you need it for. But they wanted to charge like $300 just for the sheet, so I didn't want to spend that much. I spent $50 on this sheet of plywood. So this is plywood with a smooth surface on it. It was relatively cheap, $50 for the full sheet, and all I had to do was buy the hardwood. I had to buy the hardware, so I had to buy like the L brackets and everything. Depending on which kind you get is how expensive it's gonna be. I honestly spent, I think it was about 120, 130 bucks, somewhere around there, because you have to put into consideration the amount of paint, the waterproofing paint, the brackets, all the bolts and everything, washers, locking nuts. So if you put all that into consideration, that was about 120 to 130 bucks. But it is a lot cheaper than other brands. I would honestly, if you didn't want to do the work yourself, I would go with Battle Arrow. I kind of got my design from them. It was like $250 for the brackets, and then another $250 for the splitter. So I think that's really expensive, 500 bucks for a wooden splitter and then brackets. I would honestly purchase the brackets because they're very well made and they're very sturdy. But I made my own brackets for a lot cheaper, so I technically saved like over 400, 500 bucks just to make my own splitter. But I really hope you guys enjoyed the video. If you guys have any questions, please let me know. I'm more than happy to always help. But that's how she's pretty much looking right now. I do have some side skirts hopefully coming in soon once I order them. What's gonna complete the car, because right now the car is a lot wider from the front since I added the splitter. I have canards in the rear and the bottom, and then I don't have anything on the side. I used to have some side skirts, but they were getting really wavy because they were made of ABS plastic, so I had to remove them. But overall, I'm really enjoying the way how the car looks now. It just looks so aggressive and so sick. But yeah, hope you guys enjoyed the video. Thank you guys so much for watching. I'm almost close to 500 subscribers, so make sure you guys subscribe, hit the bell notification, share the video, like the video. Once I hit 500 subscribers, I'll be doing a giveaway, so stay tuned for that. Follow me on Instagram. I do post a lot of my stuff there. I'll be taking more pictures soon. Thank you guys again for watching, and I'll catch you guys in the next one. Peace.